All right, I think my body is finally normalized from Sunday's thrilling win. Now let's turn our attention to the Washington Commanders and the NFC Championship game on Sunday. Next, here on the PHLY Eagles Podcast. Hello and happy Tuesday to all out there. Welcome in to the PHLY Eagles Podcast presented by our friends over at Bet365. Use promo code PHLY365 at sign up and you can find out why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Obviously, I am not Bo Wolf, but I am here for a special Tuesday edition of the PHLY Eagles Podcast. Rich Hoffman, my normal Wednesday co-host, and Zach Berman joins us in studio. What up, fellas?
What's up, man? How you doing?
Awesome to be here with you guys. It's great to be on set as opposed to on the other side of the screen. And you saying you're not Bo Wolf, there's nothing wrong with me. Okay, I'll tell you that.
Shots fired. Yes, welcome in. Eagles Hall of Famer Trey Thomas is going to join us a little bit later this hour. But Zach, it's great to be in studio with you. You're fresh off the Vic Fangio and Kellen Moore press conferences down at the NovaCare Center. We'll dive into some of the nitty-gritty of it. But I think the number one question on every Eagles fan's mind is, any updates on Jalen Hurts?
Yes, well, I asked Nick Sirianni yesterday about both Jalen Hurts and Quinyon Mitchell. And Nick's answer was basically those guys are going to do everything they can to be in top form. He certainly didn't make it seem as if there's nothing to worry about here. The Eagles are on the practice field for the first time tomorrow. They're going to play, or I should say this: Jalen's going to play.
Sure.
I don't quite know yet about Quinyon Mitchell. My guess is he'll push to play. The question more is how will they be when they're out there? You saw Jalen was hindered, and this knee injury is not one to dismiss. I think this will affect him. Now the difference is you can go into the week with a game plan and build around that accordingly. But this to me is the dominant topic of the week, and I'm curious too how much he'll practice, what he'll say about it. I also asked Nick why they went with Kenny Pickett as the number 2 as opposed to Tanner McKee, because I know this was a question with the way McKee finished the year, and he did say that McKee played really well. He said Pickett's who they've gone with all year. They like the way Pickett looked when he's in there. But and I might be getting ahead of myself here. I'm curious to see if they'll have all 3 active this week. Not just McKee in an emergency role, but if they'll make sure that they're covered here, considering you don't know about Hurts. You have Hurts' status. At least if he's out there, you don't know what he'll be like. And Pickett, if he's struggling, if the ribs are an issue, you want to have McKee not just as the emergency option.
That's that's something to look at. I mean, Zach, this is pretty unprecedented territory for Jalen Hurts. I looked up his injury history. It is his first lower body injury since 2021. He missed I believe that was the Gardner Minshew game in New Jersey when Gardner Minshew was like fighting with his dad after getting the win or whatever.
In the bomber jacket.
I mean, the guy, obviously, Jalen is super tough. He's dealt with some concussion stuff. He's dealt with the finger stuff this year. But this is a different type of thing. And obviously for a quarterback who's his mobility is a weapon, right? It's a weapon in the run game. We saw it last game against Washington. I think after Jalen leaves the game, I had the numbers right here. Saquon ran for 41 yards on his last 22 carries. We saw it last week when Jalen in the first quarter runs for that touchdown. That is something I am a bit worried about. Did Kellen Moore talk about that at all today? Like, what are the differences if Jalen is less mobile than he usually is?
Yeah, he did say that they'll be able to plan for it. That they'll see what he's they'll see what he's like, that there are certain ways you build a game plan with an injured quarterback. So he did acknowledge that. And you are absolutely correct. Now, I will say last year he was
banged up. This is official.
Is this the same knee or a different knee?
This is his left knee here.
So last year was his right knee, correct?
Well, that's the thing. He was never on the injury report officially, but he was dealing with it. Sure. And he kind of let us know he was dealing with something, but he didn't miss time with it. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the type of injury that's going to be on the report, this will be on the report this week. Is my guess. And the left knee for you think for a right-handed quarterback,
sure.
So it's something that I personally think it is the biggest story this week.
Yeah, I mean, his mobility is a huge plus for the Eagles. I mean, that safety is a play maybe he doesn't take. Yeah. I thought that play call in that situation was, in hindsight.
Yeah, Kellen Moore said that's on him.
Yeah, I'm sure he wants that one back. I mean, it was like the first series, right, after the knee, and you do that in your own end zone without that escapability, and then that design bootleg where they end up losing yards and go like, I'm sure there's some things Kellen Moore wants back. Did he address any of self-reflection on Sunday at all?
Yeah, he absolutely said that he wants some of those plays back. He was talking specifically about the safety. He said that's on him. I did ask Kellen about, why the deep drops for Jalen.
Sure.
In the case of the safety, in the case of the sack on the penultimate drive. And he said there are certain things you're trying to get into within the game plan. I personally think you have to account for the fact that he's injured, the fact that they're running the ball well, the situation in the game. That's where you have to operate with nuance as a play caller. So he did acknowledge it. He wasn't dismissive of it, but he wasn't like bearing his soul. He said there are plays there are calls in that game he wants back. There are certain things within a play you can always look at, but that's on him, because I think that the out was given to him at one point on the safety. Should Jalen have thrown that to Dallas Goedert? And he said there's things within a play, but that's on him.
The screen grabs going around. Sometimes, the masses overreact to screen grabs because you don't know what first read is, what second read is, whatever. But it did appear Dallas Goedert was breaking open for a first down there.
But Jalen definitely would have taken off if he was healthy.
Sure,
right?
I think so.
Absolutely. I'm not sure he would have gotten out of the grasp of that defender,
but he would have gotten out of the pocket to throw it out of bounds.
He would have made a better effort than that.
And I'm not a run the ball guy, but in both those situations, I thought, the one thing you don't want to do when you're backed up from the 5-yard line is give 2 points.
Yeah.
And that's where, I'll push back on the Eagles. They're like, no turnovers.
That's a turnover with 2 points on top of it.
Exactly. So I didn't, that play call to me, if you're going to pass, make it a quick drop.
Sure.
Like not into the end zone. And then because Jalen can't escape, now the blocking wasn't great on that play, but still don't leave that up for chance. And then the same thing too, when you're in 4-minute offense, you're in 2nd and 7, don't have a play that can lose 12 yards, right? Like at least keep yourself in 3rd and manageable.
So I might be the only one who at least understood the idea of throwing, because, everybody said if you give the ball to Saquon 3 times, you win the game there. Honestly, if you look at the stats in that play or throughout the game, right, he hits the 2 home runs. He was like 2.7 yards per carry the rest of the game. It wasn't really that much of a success rate game. Now, you might say, okay, don't run the play that loses 12 yards. Don't run PA boot where he could lose all that yards. Maybe run a screen, something a little more high percentage. I actually like the idea of throwing there. I thought the Rams had a lot of negative plays on defense. I at least understood that one. It just it didn't work out. I thought the deep drop in the end zone was clearly that was the worst call to me, at least.
Zach, Rich, now on the other topic, my man Quinyon Mitchell is obviously going to be another big storyline this week. You guys have been around locker rooms and athletes a lot more than I have. I got very excited when I heard after the game that Quinyon Mitchell said, I'll be good. I'm going to be back out there. How much do you believe a player when they say something like that in the moment, fresh coming off the high of a game? Versus the probably tough week ahead.
Yeah, I think the positive in that is that you interpret it's not a long-term injury.
Yeah.
That when a player's saying that, it's not the type of thing that's going to shelve them for 6 weeks or a month, and or like a season-ending thing that requires surgery. That doesn't necessarily mean he'll be able to play 7 days later, because you have to see functionally how's that shoulder reacting to it. Now, if it's a stinger, it's one thing. If there's something more structural there, you have to be careful with it. Now, I will say the Eagles were happy with the way Isaiah Rodgers played. One thing that Vic Fangio said is they really liked Rodgers in the spring and summer. He broke his hand in camp. When he came back, they didn't think he was quite the same player. And he's since returned to the form that he showed during the spring and summer. So I don't think it is a major dropout going from Mitchell to Rodgers. Sure. But Slay, something Darius Slay said after the game is that Rodgers is a starting caliber corner in this league, and there was a long period of time during the summer when I thought Rodgers would be the starter for this team. But Quinyon Mitchell, to answer the question, when he expresses optimism there, I think that's still, it's like, let's wait and see, because that to me means this isn't something that requires surgery, but it still requires observation throughout the week.
How did you make it through the game without Quinyon?
It was tough, but to your point, I think Isaiah Rodgers played pretty damn well. Just missed that interception. I thought the fumble return was huge there, a great spin move to get an extra 30 yards. I thought he stepped up and played a really good game. It was such an emotional roller coaster, Rich. I know you wrote about it in your newsletter, which, by the way, let's get a little thumbs up in the chat for Rich's newsletter. It's phenomenal. It's free. Tell a friend, tell a family member, tell a neighbor. It's on lphly.com. Subscribe to it. It's sincerely, it's awesome. I know you wrote that, apologies to my neighbors below me and my cat for what I was going through. I think me and Julia were the two here in the office watching the game, emotionally going through it. So there was so much kind of distraction emotionally that I was okay. Obviously, I didn't want to lose my man Q, but so much else was going on that I kind of lost focus on Q.
Isaiah Rodgers is definitely a good backup. I don't know. It's crazy how the Eagles have revamped this entire defense.
And credit to Howie in the front office, because that was not a move this offseason. That was a move a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
I think Keely Ringo is a good backup too.
Sure.
Probably not on the same level as Isaiah Rodgers, but Isaiah Rodgers, even on the catch that Demarcus Robinson had, he's running right with him.
Sure.
Right? He's not a guy that I'm expecting to get toasted in those big spots. So, obviously, the drop off from Q is real, right?
Yeah,
He has proven to be an excellent corner, somebody who a lot of times the quarterback doesn't even look his way for most of the games already in his first year. But yeah, Isaiah Rodgers is about as good as you can do in that spot as a backup corner.
And credit to him, every time he comes in the game, they test him. Yeah. And I thought, what was it, 2 weeks ago? I forget what game it was in particular. He came in for just a couple plays, and they went right at him in the end zone. And there was a nice pass breakup by him. Isaiah Rodgers has answered the bell as best a backup can this year.
And they'll continue to attack him, too. That's the way it works, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But, I feel okay about that.
Sure. Yeah, the one thing I'll say, though, is you said quarterbacks aren't testing Quinyon Mitchell. One quarterback who did was Jayden Daniels. Yeah. I thought the worst game he played this year, or the game
was the one legit touchdown he let up.
Yeah, the
was
game
on
down there.
Terry,
the game down there in Washington. So I think that I don't want to say that's what it'll look like on Sunday, but this is going to be that the Washington passing game to me is your biggest concern going into this game. Is can you pressure Daniels? How are you on Terry McLaurin? De'Ami Brown's really emerged during this past month. You saw, they have guys like Zacchaeus, guys like Jameson Crowder who are just making plays for them. Zach Ertz has been really reliable. And then the way Jayden Daniels is the way he's playing. Vic Fangio said about Jayden Daniels today, he was asked about a young quarterback like that. He said, young on birth certificate, not young on film.
Well, he's only, a year younger than Jalen Hurts?
That's true, yeah, because he was a 5-year guy in college,
right?
Yeah,
so he is, I think your brain fully develops at age 25, so he's right there. So his brain
so I have no excuse then, right? But no, it's a good look. Jayden Daniels, Vic Fangio was asked.
He's nasty.
He was asked, "Is this the best rookie quarterback you've seen?" And he said, "Probably so," because a rookie quarterback's never started in the Super Bowl before.
I was just gonna say, you're a student of the game, Zach. Yeah. Rookie quarterbacks in conference championship games are 0-5, and a lot of those rookies are Joe Flacco and Ben Roethlisberger, guys that have gotten it done later. Do you put much stock or credence in the rookie kind of, atmosphere it's going to be at Lincoln Financial Field? I know he's cool as a cucumber.
Yeah.
The guy's supremely talented. I hate that we're going to have to deal with him in the NFC East for a decade plus. But how much weight do you, Rich, and you, Zach, put on that rookie quarterback in this spot?
I'll let you go first here.
I feel like it's different from some of the names you mentioned. Like you mentioned Roethlisberger. That Steelers team was loaded.
Oh, yeah.
They ran the ball. It was a very kind of specific game plan for him. Like the quarterback is driving the bus here on this team. So he
changed the whole franchise.
This is completely different, I think.
Yeah, I am blown away, frankly, by the way he's played this year. I don't think the rookie quarterback thing is what would give me optimism for the Eagles. I think it's more, I just think the Eagles are a far more talented team than Washington. That said, I did not see Washington going into Detroit and playing like that. And this is not just one game. This has been the past month and a half.
Yeah.
And you talk about Jayden Daniels, he is so money in late game situations. You saw that firsthand against the Eagles. Obviously, the Hail Mary. How many times this year has Jayden Daniels led them downfield? You saw it against Tampa Bay in the playoffs. He's defying precedent for the way a rookie plays. If we were not at PHLY, if we were at WSTN, let's say, like, is that what it would be? Washington.
Have you been thinking about all the
WDC? I don't know, but if. Like
they might work the DC in there. WDC.
Yeah. WDC.
But it's got before the
WSDC.
We'll workshop it.
We'll workshop it. Yeah. But if we were doing a Commander show, then the reason why people in Washington would be optimistic is because Jayden Daniels, like you can't even look at the historical precedent because he is defying historical precedents.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, two of my best friends in this world are Commander sickos. Yeah. The optimism, I think they're guarding themselves emotionally, but they think this is an Eagles game.
These are college friends?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I did go to school down in D.C.
Yes.
So I
love D.C. Great city.
Yeah.
Love D.C.
You made your bones there.
Bo will push back when I say that.
It's a great city.
I love D.C.
I love D.C. too. And we're going to continue talking about this game. And reminder, Trey Thomas going to be joining us at 2:40 coming up. We got a little Bo Wolf in the chat action. Love that. Let's get some thumbs up for Bo Wolf as we tell you about some of our friends here at PHLY. And I have been an Ace Hardware devotee for a long time. Why? Just because it's better than the box stores. And the best part of Ace Hardware, when you walk in the door, not only are you greeted by someone, but you're greeted by somebody that knows exactly every project you're working on. They can tell you what parts you need. They can even tell you how to go about doing it. So why would you not want those same trusted experts to come right to your front door? And that's what you get with Ace Hardware Home Services. Maybe you got a leaky pipe. Maybe you have an air conditioning issue. Maybe your wife has been hounding you about a leaky faucet. Because when it comes to electricity and plumbing, I just don't play around with that stuff. There's a lot I can do in the house, but there's a lot I can't do in the house. So when something does arise, I'm going to call Ace Hardware Home Services because it's the trusted hardware folks from the store you love now right to your front door. I recently saw the truck in my neighborhood, and I want those neighbors know what they're doing because they're bringing Ace Hardware and they're bringing the helpful home right to their front door. So visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get you started on your next project.
Rich was probably wondering why I was looking over his shoulder. It's because we have an ice shaker there. Here you go. This is an Eagles branded ice shaker. And if you don't know what an ice shaker is, I need to tell you, a few years ago, I think it was like 2017, actually the last time the Eagles won the Super Bowl, I was at home watching Shark Tank with my wife, and I
love Shark Tank.
Yeah, and I see Rob Gronkowski come on the screen, and I'm thinking, what a budding entrepreneur that is. And then I see him promoting Ice Shaker, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting, and I'm wondering what it is, and I know all about it now, and I hope you know about it too, because Ice Shaker is the perfect gift for passionate sports fans in your life. Ice Shaker is now officially licensed with the NFL, NHL, NBA, NCAA, and MLB, and will make the ideal gift. It's created and used by the Gronkowski brothers, so maybe you'll end up looking like a Gronkowski. Ice Shakers have sold over 1 million bottles. They have changed the game with workout bottles, and this is the bottle you've been looking for. Go to iceshaker.com and use the code ALLCITY25 at checkout to save 25% on your order. So you must be wondering, what is it that I'm talking about here? Well, it's kitchen-grade stainless steel bottles that won't absorb odor like the plastic bottles do. You never want an odorous plastic bottle. It has patented twists in the agitator that breaks up powders. You know, when I'm drinking my protein powder, I always love when there's a patented twist in the agitator. It's third-party tested, will hold ice for 30+ hours. So, you know, you have it for one workout, maybe 24 hours goes by, you have it for the next workout. It's customizable. Send us your logo or check out the custom shop to customize your favorite bottle. And the turnaround time on custom bottles is 3 to 5 business days. So you can have it just in time for the Super Bowl. The agitator works as a strainer as well, and it makes a very solid tailgating cup to mix drinks. So Bo would enjoy it out tailgating. Order your team branded bottles today at iceshaker.com and use the code ALLCITY25 for 25% off your order. Ice Shaker, show your support for your teams with the best branded workout bottles on the market. Ice Shakers.
All right, this is the PHLY Eagles podcast presented by our friends at Bet365. Zach, would you say, is it fair to say that Bo Wolf is the Zach Berman agitator?
Yeah, I think that's probably fair to say. That'd be a very accurate statement.
Yes, I think we all know what Bo is up to on his off day. If you've seen a viral post that's going around the city of Philadelphia, I'll leave that for you to find. But let's get to the other side of the football and Vic Fangio. Well, we talked a little bit about both, but let's talk about the defense and Vic Fangio, because Jayden Daniels is the story this weekend. I'm terrified of this guy. I'll be honest. I saw somebody in the chat say, you know, Jamie, don't be scared of Jayden Daniels. Somebody else right around that said Jayden Daniels is spooky. What did Vic Fangio have to say about the rookie phenom? He's obviously not going to tell you much game plan, much strategy, but what did Vic kind of have to say here about Jayden?
Yeah, really the veteran ability that he's playing with. Like I said, the line that's going to really go, I don't want to say go viral, but it's going to catch steam is when he said he's young by years, but not, or he's young on his birth certificate, but not on the film, and that's an accurate statement. And the thing with Jayden Daniels is, you know, if he was, well, when he's playing teams that haven't seen him yet, you're giving all this praise, and it can seem like platitudes. In the Eagles' case, they've seen it firsthand. And I should also add, the first time they saw him on that Thursday night game, Jayden Daniels was coming off an injury, or was dealing with an injury, and he wasn't quite the same. I think what they saw in that second game is probably more accurate to what, or is more representative of what they will see on Sunday. Now, the circumstances are different. It's a postseason game. I get it now. It's not going to be too cold. It's going to be like in the 40s probably. So
not like today.
Not like today.
Brutal.
And you're not dealing with the conditions that you dealt with this past Sunday's game. So my guess is that, well, it's not like Jayden Daniels is where the Eagles are starting and focusing all the attention this week. It's not like, all right, stop Brian Robinson.
Yeah, sure.
It's not like this offensive line's real. It's Jayden Daniels, his ability to make plays. And the other thing I will add to this too, and I asked Vic Fangio about it, is you often have to defend him for 4 downs, right? I mean, this is a team, and you saw this in the Lions game. By volume, they're not one of the highest. You know, in terms of going for 4th downs, or more,
because they've been so
the
successful at 3rd down.
Yeah, but they are so. But when they get there, I think like 20 of 22 or thereabouts during the season. You're forced to play 4-down football, and Vic Fangio acknowledged that it affects the way you call 3rd down. So he was asked about what makes Jayden Daniels so tough, and it's the movement ability really adds to it. And Cliff Kingsbury, to his credit, has done such a good job calling the games for Jayden Daniels. And I also think that's a subplot we can get into this week, is that the Eagles spoke to Cliff Kingsbury for the job. I think the Eagles at one point were interested in Cliff for this job. Cliff's been outstanding with Jayden Daniels in Washington.
I think they've won 2 games, at least over the last month, just because Dan Quinn is so aggressive on 4th down. I mean, I think you can argue last week they might have won anyway with all the turnovers, but they had some huge 4th down conversions in that game. And then the Sunday night game against Atlanta, when they clinched a playoff spot, they were awesome on 4th down in that game as well. So, yeah, it's going to be like 40 degrees. I think Dan Quinn will be able to wear the backwards hat for that one, too.
Phew.
He wouldn't have been able to wear the backwards hat today. I mean, that would have been quite a move. That would have been like Jalen no sleeves.
And tomorrow's supposed to be colder. I think it's going down to 7 degrees tomorrow.
As hat guys, I can see both you guys are hat guys.
It's a nice way of saying follically challenged.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
No,
It's
hat
very
guys.
polite of you.
Love it.
I love hat guys. We're big hat guys.
I didn't even put that together. I just thought you just like the way it looks. Yeah.
He's the man in the hat, not what's underneath.
Are you backwards? Are you backwards?
I had
hat
a
guys?
backwards stage in my life where I collected MLB hats. So I had old school Brewers, Orioles. Like I love the old school baseball hats. So I had a phase where I went backward, but only fitted caps. Like I would never wear
the adjustable backwards.
The adjustable backwards. No way.
I'd wear the adjustable backwards sometimes, but I think at this point I'm pretty much keeping it straightforward.
Yeah.
Which is funny because Dan Quinn is a lot older than me, and there is a lot of like, how do you do, fellow kids, with that. So anyway, he's been really good for them. This
He
year,
has
though,
been.
as much as I make fun of the hat.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not for Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota, Dan Quinn is probably Zach. I don't know if you were given a vote. Where would you have voted Dan Quinn for kind of Coach of the Year candidacy this year? Top 4?
Yeah, certainly top. And look, you don't have to sell me on Dan Quinn. When we were doing our coach rankings before the season, I was real high on the Washington staff, and I was getting a little pushback on it.
Hey, I'm not gonna stop you here, Zach. Peacock away, man.
Yeah,
Wasn't
no,
it Washington and Pittsburgh? Those were the two.
Yeah, those were two teams that I was getting the most pushback on. This is my view on Dan Quinn. I think one of the more underrated coaching jobs I've seen, or the job that doesn't get as much attention, is coming off that Super Bowl collapse in Atlanta. You know, they lose the 28-3 lead. The next year, they go on the road in the postseason and win, and they almost beat the Eagles. And it's really hard to get back after you lose the Super Bowl, as the Eagles saw. And as you saw with San Francisco this year. I think I've spoken to players who swear by him. Also, one thing that he did after the Atlanta job that I found as like, I'm kind of like a nerd about self-improvement. He reached out to every player he coached, I believe, and wanted to get their perspective on what he could have done differently. I think there were a lot of teams in the past who've made mistakes not hiring Dan Quinn because either you're going for the play caller or there's like a stigma maybe sometimes against the second chance coach. Dan Quinn's been to the Super Bowl. Dan Quinn had a lot of success in Atlanta. He's put together good staffs. I'm not surprised by Dan Quinn. I'm surprised they're in the NFC Championship game, but I'm not surprised that Dan Quinn's had the success that he's had.
How much credit does our old friend Brian Johnson, the passing game coordinator,
Sean Desai last week, Brian Johnson this week?
How much does he deserve? And if Cliff Kingsbury was to get a job and move on, is Brian Johnson the front runner there to become the OC?
Question. We've seen that story before.
That's a good question.
Probably a good chance, right?
Yeah, no, I believe their quarterback coach is Tavita Pritchard. Is that right? The former Stanford quarterback.
Let's go with that.
Sure.
That sounds great.
But Brian Johnson's the senior passing game coordinator. Yeah, I mean, look, Brian Johnson, I'll say this, is that I'm not absolving him from the way last year went. Is that who it is, Tavita Pritchard? Okay. I'm not absolving him.
As if I had to look down.
Yeah, I trust Zach as soon as he said it.
I'm not absolving him for the way last year went, but I think his hands were tied behind his back with the offense.
I agree with you.
Fair.
And so if Cliff Kingsbury got another job, and by the way, Cliff Kingsbury hasn't interviewed elsewhere yet. There was connections to him with the Bears, but that obviously went to Ben Johnson. There was speculation with the Jets, but that's my presumption that's going to go to Aaron Glenn. Maybe the Cowboys are lurking, but I'm guessing Cliff Kingsbury's back. But I think Brian Johnson, I said this at the time, and I stand by this. I still think Brian Johnson's going to be a good coach in the NFL, whether it's offensive. I still think he's head coaching material. And I don't know his level of involvement in the success in Washington, but it's not surprising to me that a team he's working with has success.
I also think with the Eagles, the past games inconsistencies, let's call it that, this year, that Brian Johnson, maybe his body of work looks a little bit better. You look a little bit kinder on that. Speaking of the Cowboys, Zach, great game for their fans. Kellen Moore on one side, Dan Quinn on the other side.
I saw a great meme going around. It was Jayden Daniels, the last time the Cowboys made the NFC Championship game, and now the Commanders making it. They're the only team since 1996, the Cowboys are, not make a championship game. That's very great. But Jayden Daniels and Jalen Hurts have both been born, gone to high school, college, and now the NFL careers since the Cowboys have last made the championship game. So it's pretty funny to think about.
Yeah, I think I don't think Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore were the problem. No, Dan Quinn didn't get fired, but I don't think Dan Quinn and Kellen Moore were the problems in Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, coordinators you're hired to be fired as scapegoats, right? Like that's ultimately what's going to happen.
Yeah, and then Joe Witt Jr., he's the D coordinator with the Commanders. He was
Cowboys guy,
he was the position coach. What's that? Yeah,
he was with the Cowboys, right?
He was with the Cowboys. Yeah, I mean, this is the Commanders are just it's a formidable opponent. I just don't think that they have the talent to match up with the Eagles. I think if they beat the Eagles, it's for the reason we mentioned, that they got a hot quarterback, and a hot quarterback, it's kind of like, you know, the goalie in hockey, or, you know,
sure, standing on his head,
or, you know, the ace in baseball, is that, I say it all the time, it's not a 7-game series here. It's one game. And if you have a hot quarterback in one game, and you saw this against Detroit, I still think if the Lions play the Commanders in a 7-game series, the Lions probably win 4-1. That's my personal view.
Ugh,
but
that would be awful. A 7-game series. That would take 2 months.
Yeah, it's kind of like the college football playoff, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to watch this anymore.
But the in one game, when a quarterback gets hot or you turn the ball over, that's the biggest threat to the Eagles, is Quinyon looking good, I'm sorry, is Jayden Daniels looking good, and the injuries to Jalen Hurts and Quinyon Mitchell affecting the Eagles.
Yeah, you said it, and I do want to ask you about Darius Slay and, you know, how he's playing. But you just mentioned the turnovers. Wild, you know how NFL just goes. It's a league of trends, and sometimes it's cyclical, and sometimes it's just weird. And one of the trends this postseason, this past weekend, every team that won didn't outgain their opponents, but they won the turnover battles. And I think that's, unfortunately, Jayden Daniels is also very good at this, but Jalen Hurts' ability to protect the football. Now, I know the safety is technically a turnover. I feel like this game is just simply going to come down to turnovers, because the Rams, that changed the game on Sunday. And if it's not for Jalen Carter punching that out and saving me and Rich's sanity, I know you're a professional and you're in the box. You know, me and Rich are losing our damn minds over here. And Jalen Carter punches that out, and it changed everything. And it almost was like, all right, here the turnovers have begun. Apparently, the Eagles didn't play in the snow. Only the Rams were affected by the snow, if you listen to the national media. But it does feel like this is just going to come down to a turnover battle on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it says about you when you can like start finishing someone else's sentences, right? And I don't know if it means you think about them too much or spend too much time with them, but like I'm at the point now, 4 years covering Nick Sirianni, where like I've heard all of his stories. I can finish his sentences. If Nick's watching this, he's probably like planning a restraining order against me right now. But no, I mean, I've heard the amount of times that I've heard Nick say the double, you know, you have to win the double positive. You have to win the double positive. And for him, that means you have to win the turnover differential and you have to win the explosive play differential. And since the bye week, what the Eagles have been so money in is winning the turnover differential. And they've been forcing turnovers on defense. Jalen has, one interception since the bye week here. Now, the ball was on the ground last week, and they recovered it. But yeah, like this is... It's not a coincidence. And Nick knows off the top of his head the Eagles' record in games when they've won the turnover differential. It is so impressive. And this isn't just tying, it's winning the turnover differential. It's not like, you know, it's one of those things that makes sense. But I mean, the clip that they're winning at, it's probably like an 80-90% clip when they win the turnover differential. That will be reinforced even more. And Washington, that's a ball hawking team, and you know, Mikey Sanders still someone who I loved coming out of Michigan because he's a converted receiver. He's a little raw in some areas, but man, he is tough and he makes plays on the ball. You saw that last week. They have the linebackers Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu who can hit, take the ball away.
That's a nice way of saying being a dirty player.
No, I just they're
not Bobby Wagner.
They're tough. They're instinctive.
Yeah,
the other guy.
Jeremy Chin has been on top of things. Quan Martin's been. He was the nickel guy last year. Now he's playing safety. They have a lot of guys who can take the ball away, and I don't love their pass rush, but I'm really impressed with what they have in the back seven right now.
Yeah, and Rich, in the AFC, two of the cleanest seasons from start to finish in terms of turnovers, interceptions, fumbles lost, sacks taken, all that stuff. is Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, and it's not a coincidence they're playing on Sunday also.
No, and I mean Lamar threw what did he throw? 4 picks this year, and then the turnover issues get him. And obviously, if Mark Andrews makes a couple plays in the fourth quarter, maybe he gets that game to overtime and they win. But yeah, no, those were definitely costly. I mean, obviously, there's a balance, right? Like
sure.
When people say like take away the negative plays, well, some of those sacks might have been 3-point plays in that. Right?
Yeah.
Obviously,
I think there was 8 points basically left off the field because of penalties and sacks taken.
So there is a balance, but I also I completely agreed with what Bo said after the game, and that that was a crazy game. Just
crazy.
The snow, Jalen got hurt, there were drops, there was all this crazy stuff happening. I don't really want to analyze that game specifically, even though I do agree. Stafford had more success throwing the ball as well in those conditions. But yeah, I mean, Washington gets 5 turnovers last week against Detroit. I mean, Detroit was moving the ball up and down the field against this team. This should be a team that you're able to run the ball against. My hope is that the Lions were just an awesome spot for Washington, where you get this team that their defense is almost historically banged up.
Yeah.
They're really, they did not have much for Daniels, who is terrific, but that's a team that had to play a track meet game against you. This Eagles defense is going to be a much different test for him. That's my hope.
Absolutely. And Zach, one of the keys on last Sunday, I should say, I thought Darius Slay was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he played a great game for a guy that's 34 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, at 34, I was hurting my shoulder while sleeping. So I can't imagine playing an NFL game at that level. What he's done is impressive. What did Uncle Vic have to say about Darius Slay today?
So first off, so a good question here. Some behind the scenes here on Slay. I'm in the locker room on Friday.
Was this the gas can day?
Yeah. So
I love that picture.
Yeah. So there's a gas tank. The way if you ran out of gas, what you would get to fill it up, like a small gas tank, by his locker. But
now, do you have one of these in your garage at home?
No.
Do you cut the grass?
I'm not very handy. Darius Slay. Christian Parker, the D-backs coach, has he puts a sign up how much gas or how much do you have left in the tank, right? And that's kind of the message to Slay right now. I don't know if he's going to be back next year.
His comments were at the locker. Was that yesterday?
Yeah.
Sounds like he's, considering.
Yeah,
this could be the swan song.
He recognizes it. He says there's some gas left, but not too much gas left. He says he has kids at home. He wants to get home to be with his kids. You look at the Eagles' young corner, so there's a chance this might be Slay's last home game. But anyways, you're right. Slay's played really well in the playoffs in particular. These past 2 games, he's making plays on the ball. He's been tight on coverage. And so I asked, and that's a position where players don't age gracefully.
Sure.
For him to be doing this at 34 jumps out.
It's wild.
And so I asked Vic about it, and Vic said, and I'm gonna. Be careful with how I frame
Speaking
this.
of viral quotes.
Yeah, Vic said he's like a nice, red Italian wine. He gets better with age, okay? And Vic Fangio probably has enjoyed, a glass or 2 of red Italian wine that come up with this reference here. And he said that he keeps himself in good shape. He keeps himself in good shape. He still moves well, and you're seeing that out there. He's running. The interception he had 2 weeks ago against Green Bay, he ran stride for stride there. His recovery speed is there. And then he also said, and this is something that I can attest for, is he said how much he enjoys the game, and that's important too. Darius Slay loves football. Darius Slay, he's one of these guys, there's some players who aren't watching the Thursday night game.
Sure.
Darius Slay is watching every game. Darius Slay was watching film on Quinyon Mitchell last year going into the draft. He has the corners that he likes. So there's really something to that Slay enjoys playing football, which might seem like an obvious statement, but the Trey Thomas, guys get to a certain point in their career where it starts to seem like a job. Darius Slay enjoys it.
I was watching the game last week and thinking back to, are there any Eagles that played in the last Snow Bowl in 2013? And I was like, well, BG's hurt, so he can't play in this game. I believe Lane was a rookie in that game. Yep. But the other answer is that Darius Slay was playing on the other side of the field in that game. I mean, it's just crazy, Zach. I wrote about this in the newsletter, but Xavier Rhodes got picked, I think, 8 or 10 slots ahead of Slay in the draft. Xavier Rhodes had an excellent career. He made a Pro Bowl. He made 3 Pro Bowls. He made an an all-pro team at one point. He was done playing in 2021 as a full-time player, and that's like the norm at that position. Like, that's not crazy. The guy had an excellent career. So for Slay to be at this level for a Super Bowl contender at 34 years old, it's wild.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
Also, real quick, just Slay note, in the 2013 draft, when the Eagles were drafting, I think 35 overall, 36 overall, they were down to 2 players. Do you know who those 2 players were?
I have a feeling one of them was Darius Slay.
And the other one was Zach Ertz, and both are in this game.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. All right, don't go anywhere. Trey Thomas is coming up next. But first, let's tell you about some of our friends here at PHLY. A few weeks back, I got my first Hello Fresh box, and I was like a kid on Christmas morning because, look, the worst part of family life is meal prepping. What do you want to make this week? What do you want to do for this? What are the kids going to eat? It's awful. And then you got to come up with the ingredients and the grocery list. It's just a tedious thing that my wife and I hate. And with HelloFresh, they take all of that away from you. You sign up for whatever plan it is you want that week, and boom, it comes right to your front door. So you can skip those trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking fun, easy, and affordable. And it's why it's America's #1 meal kit. And as Zach and Bo and Fran tell you, the oven's actually doing all the work. So like you barely have to do anything. The box shows up, you take it out, you let the stove top and the oven do all the work for you. But the meals are awesome. They have 15-minute meals that you can finish in just 3 simple steps. You save valuable time with fewer trips to the grocery store, all thanks to the HelloFresh Market. And there's over 100 different add-on items you can add to your weekly boxes, like quick breakfast, packable snacks, beverages, and more. It has changed our lives. So get up to 10 free meals and a free high-protein item for life at HelloFresh.com/PHLY, Eagles 10FM. 1 item per box with active subscription. Free meals applied at discount on first box. New subscribers only, varies by plan. There's up to 10 HelloFresh meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/Eagles 10FM.
Zach, Jamie, it might be cold here in Philly right now. I mean, it's about as cold as possible. But hey, maybe you take a winter trip in a few weeks, maybe one to New Orleans, and it's never too early to start thinking about the summer and the sun. So I want to talk about our friends at Shady Rays, who are helping you get in the right frame of mind with their premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their sunglasses have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor activities. And look, it's not just a summer product. If you are a skier or a snowboarder, Shady Rays has a brand new collection of snow goggles to help you see clearly and look good on the slopes. And they are available in both adult and kid sizes. Shady Rays would come in handy if you're planning a trip to New Orleans for a certain playoff game in a couple of weeks. If your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, you also do not have to sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by their lost or broken replacement program. How does that work? If you don't love your shades, exchange a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. So PHLY viewers and listeners, you can go to shadyrays.com and save 35% off polarized sunglasses with code PHLY. Over 300,000 people have rated Shady Rays 5 stars. So use code PHLY today at shadyrays.com.
All right, this is the PHLY Eagles Podcast. Jamie Lynch, Rich Hoffman, Zach Berman. And I haven't talked to this man in a long time, and I love him dearly. I can't wait to talk to him. Let's bring him right in. Eagles Hall of Famer, Mr. Trey Thomas.
All right. What's good, my brother?
Trey,
how's everything?
What's up, man? How are you?
Man, it's awesome, man. So good to be able to sit down and just chop it up with you. How's everything?
It's good. Are we currently at the art studio? You working on something, or are you back home?
I was headed to the art studio, then I was like, man, let me come home and get some work done. So I'm just down in my basement right now, just hanging out, watching film.
That's a beautiful collection of game balls you got behind you there, Trey.
Yes, yeah. At one time, my mom took one, and I went home and saw it, and I was like, hey, look, I need you to give that back. I need you to come off that. There's way too much work to get one of those as offensive lineman, so I need that back.
I was going to say, those are probably tough to come by. But Andy always respected the offensive lineman, so maybe he was a little more prone.
Yeah, no, because if I had a good game, Westbrook had a good game, or McNair had a good game, so, for us to be singled out, I need that on my wall.
So, Trey, tell us about your experience on Sunday. I believe you were with Trot, and congratulations to your son, Jake, who's going to Lehigh to carry on the Thomas tradition of bulldozing people. Tell us about your experience on Sunday, watching with Trot at the game and all that.
It was awesome, man, just sitting in there with my brothers, man, and then my middle son, Tristan, was with me. So just being able to sit down and just take in that atmosphere, man. For anybody that says that we need to build a dome in Philadelphia, this is why you have an open stadium. That was such a home field advantage, being in that atmosphere, the way the field was, the way the energy was in that stadium. You need to keep it just the way it is. I have really thoroughly enjoyed myself on Sunday.
I want to ask you, Trey, first off, I would say congratulations on your son as well. I was in the locker room the other day, and Lane Johnson by his locker has a sign up after the All-Pro ballots came out, and he's comparing himself to the first-team All-Pro. And one of the stats he has up there is island rate, the amount of times that he's on an island. And him and Jordan Mailata, this Eagles offense, those tackles are on an island more often than any other tackles in the NFL. What does that mean for an offensive tackle when he doesn't have help? When you go into a game and you know it's if I don't stop him here, that's a sack.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's expected of great tackles. I mean, Lane Johnson is a Hall of Famer, no doubt, but that's what's expected when you're a good tackle. You're expected to go out there and play on the island. All the help is depending on where the center goes. So, I mean, if you're going to be the number one guy out there, Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson, they both hold their own out there, and they're extremely great athletes. And like I said, man, Lane is a Hall of Famer first ballot, man, because he is just having an incredible season and has put on a really good run, man. And just as this offensive line as a whole, I always put the 2017 Super Bowl performance as offensive line as like one of my best performances, like the top echelon. But right now, I think, man, this offensive line is probably the best you've ever seen in this organization.
Wow, big words.
You mentioned Jordan Mailata, and I'm actually thinking about the Jalen Hurts touchdown run where he's pulling through the hole and he has nobody to block because it's blocked so well. Trey, what are you seeing in general from this offensive line? Like, obviously, Saquon Barkley, once he gets to the second level, can make guys miss, can take it all the way to the house. But, I mean, what are you seeing from these guys working as a five-man unit and consistently getting him into those advantageous spots?
I think one of the things that sets up the run is just how good they are as pass blockers. They are really good at when you say, all right, you know what, my five have to take on your five, and they get out there and they can hold their own by man. That helps because now that shows that, hey, we can pass protect. That means that you're going to have to thin out that box. And if you get out there and you play us with just five guys in the box or six guys in the box, then you're operating in Coach Stoutland's wheelhouse. Because when you say, all right, man, we're going to get out here and get combination blocks. I mean, I just watched this game. You're just seeing simple inside zone runs. But when you're seeing that, when you want to see who's dominating the line of scrimmage, watch the sideline view of a game. And when you see this offensive line get all of that push with combination blocks right up the middle, I mean, they're just mowing over guys. And then when they have to, they can get out there and protect. And I think that's one of the things that has really taken this offensive line to the next level is just their ability to protect. And then Big Micah, man, that right there, Coach Stoutland, this is by far one of Coach Stoutland's best performances as a coach by what he did with Becton. Being able to take him from a left tackle, someone that's always been a left tackle, and put him in at right guard, and the way he has adjusted, and he is the one that's in charge of the silent count and everything else, that adds an extra dynamic to it. What he did with Becton and his performance and how he's been able to hold it is just been the biggest feather in his cap.
So, Trey, on the other side of the ball for the Commanders, you just mentioned right guard. They lost one of the best of the game in Sam Cosmi this weekend going up against the Birds. What does that do to a unit? How difficult is that going to be for the Washington Commanders to overcome?
Well, it's going to be extremely difficult because, I mean, you got an animal right there on our defensive line with Jalen Carter, man. I mean, dude, I was sitting there, I talked to Seth Joyner before about, Jerome Brown. I've gone out there, I played against Reggie. I didn't lock up against him, but I was throwing that arrow. I never saw Jerome Brown play. But, man, to see Jalen Carter, the way he is a disruptor in the interior of this defensive line, man, it's good luck. Good luck, because, I mean, that dude is an animal. He's going to always get a double team, and he's going to move from side to side. So that means that the center, that controls the way your center is going to slide. When you're talking about pass protection and slide protection, it's all about which way the center goes. So if you know that the center is always going to go to Jalen Carter, then all right, then you got your other defensive tackles that's going to go out there and eat against anybody else that you put inside.
I'm curious about what it's like to play in a conference championship game, because I've spoken to people about this. A Super Bowl is totally different in that it's a neutral site. It doesn't always seem like there's a home field advantage, but in a conference championship game, there's something about the crowd when it's going well, they're really into it. When things are bad, the crowd gets really tight. As a player, how would you describe what a conference championship game is like to play in?
Because this is it. This is the biggest game going into the Super Bowl. Everything is riding on this, and if anybody has a pulse in their system, dude, this is the game that you're going to give everything that you got, so you can get out there and make it to the next level. And especially with it being someone that you've already seen twice, so that just adds to the dynamic. And it's kind of like, all right, that's a revenge game aspect to that too, because the last game that was played, you had Jalen Hurts go down. We end up losing that game, so. This is something that I feel like these guys are really prepared and going to come out fired up.
Trey, what do you think of what have you seen from Jayden Daniels? What makes him so difficult for a defense to stop just from afar? And what are the Eagles going to have to do to keep him in check this weekend?
You're going to have to be disciplined with your rush. I mean, I think that one of the things that's good about him is that he's a great passer, and then he's athletic, and he can get upfield, and he can make some plays with his legs. And I think that that's one of the things that, as a defense, you'll have to be disciplined with your rush lanes. And, and then Nolan Smith, you're going to have to make sure that you don't lose contain. And if you do lose contain, that you got a looper that's coming around. But I think that one of the major thing about playing with him, our secondary, I feel, is extremely tight. So this isn't something that's foreign to our defensive front and what we'll have to do. I think the strength of our defense is our secondary. So if we continue to do what we need to do on our secondary on the back end, then our defensive line will eat.
So, Trey, you talked about going up against Jalen Carter, and he's ridiculous. But one of the things him and Nolan Smith and some of these Georgia guys have is that unspoken language where they understand each other on stunts and different variants that they can pull off on you. If you're blocking against those two who kind of just understand each other without having to speak, how difficult is that as an offensive lineman?
Oh, it makes it extremely hard, because you have to start reading stances and everything else that plays into it. So it makes it extremely difficult when you have a group that they can make a little hand signal or whatever it is that they kind of just vibe off of each other. And then a lot of the games that all right, so most of the time, if you know that, all right, Jalen Carter is going to get the double team, or if that's where the center is going to slide, then you know that the other side is going to be man. So then you bring your games to the man side. So that's where it started playing in. If you start to understand, okay, all right, the center's going to come to Jalen. All right, then, hey, we run our game to the other side. If Nolan knows that, all right, because Jalen's on the other side, that the center's going to go there, then now inside moves are there because the center isn't there to help the guard to come back inside. So I think that that's one of the things that really helps with this offensive line, just understanding how everybody's trying to handle Jalen in the middle.
I got to ask you about Saquon because when I
was.
Yeah, because I speak to these O-linemen and they talk about like the excitement they see when 26 runs by, right? And Saquon's giving these guys a lot of credit, got them golf carts as a Christmas gift. But you played with Brian Westbrook, you played with Deuce Staley, you played with work done in college. What stands out to you about Saquon? What would it be like to be the block for Saquon Barkley?
I think that Saquon is really good at being patient and giving them time to get to their blocks. I think that he presses the hole, and when it opens, he's gone. And that's one of the things that he's not back there dancing. He's not back there trying to shake. He's like, all right, patient, and then he hits it when he's gone. And I think that that's just as short. And he runs hard. I mean, he's a physical runner. and he's really good between the tackles. And as an offensive line, that helps because now you're getting 2 combination blocks. So anytime as an offensive line, if I can get 2 combination blocks and we're getting pushed up the middle, and Saquon can just stay right in there, and then when he hits it, he's gone. Man, he's just a phenomenal athlete. And I think that it took a couple games for him to get that time because, the first couple games, it wasn't as smooth.
So Trey, Jalen Hurts, he's not going to be 100%. Few guys are this time of the year. He's got the banged up knee. How much does that change what your job would be as far as game plan goes, as far as blocking schemes goes for a guy that uses his legs as a weapon? How much changes on that front on Sunday?
I don't think it changes anything. I mean, our job is always going to be to try to keep our players off of him. So it's not going to change anything. You always want to just be able to run him upfield. And then if Jalen Hurts can get upfield, go ahead and get whatever you can. Don't be back there dancing around. I think, if anything, I would need our receivers to get open a little quicker so that he can get rid of the ball. So we can get some of those little short throws, get the ball out of his hands so he's not back there feeling like he has to hold on to it and put us in a bad situation.
So Trey, NFC Championship game Sunday. We need your prediction, man. What's going to happen? Tell us.
We win this, man. We win this. There's no way we're losing this. As putting the score, I have no idea. I
don't care about score as long as we're winning.
We win this. I think that, man, the energy that's just going to be in that stadium. Look at how this worked out, man. Isn't it crazy how this worked out? It's perfect that you just spent every game at home in the playoffs. This has just been everything just fell into place perfectly for this team. And I think Coach Sirianni is doing an excellent job with his players and making sure that he keeps them focused on the task at hand and allowing them to play with their personality and let them be whatever they are so that these guys can stay focused and handle business when it's time to go get to work.
So, Trey, I don't want to put any pressure on you, but you were there on Sunday. I'm going to go ahead and say you were a little bit of a good luck charm. Are you making a return back on Sunday?
Even if I have to sneak in the stadium somehow.
They got to let you in, Trey.
How would a Trey Thomas go about sneaking in the stadium? You're not very easily hideable.
I'm going to figure it out. Because, I will definitely be there. So there's no way that I can miss this game, man. It's going to be awesome.
I think that Hall of Fame jacket will get you in the gate. No problem.
Yeah, maybe so, Yeah, maybe. Sometimes, maybe, depending on who's at the gate. I don't know.
Yeah. Trey, well, it's been awesome catching up with you, man. We're overdue to do this in person. Thanks so much for your time today, and I hope I see you soon, man. All the best to the family.
All right, my brothers, go Birds.
Go Birds. There he is, the great Trey Thomas. He is the absolute best. Yeah, I think his Hall of Fame jacket will get him entry at the gate, no problem.
Yeah, he's not sneaking in. I promise that. I can sneak in behind him, right? I'll give him my press pass, and then I can.
You know how they sneak Taylor Swift around in like the catering things?
I'll be like Sproles there, and I'll sneak in behind him.
Yeah, Trey is the best. Let's look at a little thumbs up for Trey in the chat there. All right.
Also, we've been spoiled so much with our tackle play.
For
my entire life. I mean, from Trey, Runyon, JP, Lane, now Mailata.
Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer.
Demetrius Bell is what? No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, it's been crazy.
Demetrius Bell.
If I can crowdsource here, I appreciate Jamie getting Trey here on the PHLY Eagles show. If there's a former player you want to hear from, there's a guest you want to hear from, leave it in the comments.
I'd love to hear.
Chat. Leave it in the comments after the show if you're listening back. We have, if the Eagles win on Sunday, there's 2 weeks until the next game. We're going to get a lot of guests on here. If the Eagles, if they don't win on Sunday after the therapy, the morning, if you will, we have a whole off season. So if there's a guest you want to hear, there's a former player you want to hear, let us know. And Jamie's got a bigger Rolodex than you can possibly imagine. Like, this guy knows everybody. I have one or two people I can call. So so let us know.
Tom Brady got mentioned in the chat. Jamie was driving Tom Brady around. We just learned this today.
Yes, after the incident with Ohio State. And to everybody that was watching on TV, we love you. We appreciate you. If you want to continue watching the show, head over to allphly.com to continue watching. Yes, the viral incident of Will Howard and Ryan Day. Ryan Day has to dye the beard, right? On another note,
You think so?
doesn't it? It looks a little too black,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
There's no grays in there at all. It's like jet black.
I'm not a beard guy, so
I would love to see Bad Boy Zach with like a little goatee or something.
You see, this is the thing is that I'm on
Maybe an
air.
off-season project.
I'm on air every day during the offseason.
If the Eagles win the Super Bowl, will you grow a mustache for 1 week?
No, because I'm on air. So look, if I wasn't on air, it used to be I would grow the scruff out, but this is a visual medium. I need to be presentable every day. Yeah,
well, mustaches are in.
Yeah.
Yes, the viral incident of the golf cart crashing into the wall, and I mentioned to you too. During my years with Sunday Night Football, as a low level grunt worker, some of my jobs was to drive celebrities around, and I got to in Indianapolis drive Tom Brady for about 250, 300 yards, because God forbid Tom Brady walked 300 yards. You can't allow that. I had to drive him, so I didn't talk to him, but I did drive him, and I'm not gonna lie, I was a little nervous.
Any tight turns involved?
No, it was a pretty straight shot.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't have to Austin Powers K-turn it in any hallways.
So Tom Brady's calling the game this weekend.
Yes.
The Fox crew's putting together his prep work for him. He sent, they're like the Top Eagles podcast, the Top Eagles online show. You just got to watch this. This will clue you in on the team. He puts this on. He's like, that's the guy who drove me in Indianapolis.
So here, funny story. One year, I drove Dan Patrick at the Tampa Bay Super Bowl around, and Dan Patrick is the nicest, coolest guy in media. Yeah. He's exactly what you would want him to be.
After Rich, yeah,
absolutely. And not that I got to know him, he wouldn't have really known me. The previous year, I was up in Hoboken, New Jersey. I was driving back from a game, I believe, in New England, and I stopped off at my cousin's place, and they were doing a Santa crawl. And I stopped by, and they were like, oh, we're all dressing up as Santas. And I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. Ended up getting pretty drunk, and they were like, well, we have this chicken suit. And I was like, all right, I'll wear the chicken suit. So I went out on a Santa crawl in a chicken suit, ran into Dan Patrick at a bar, asked him to take a photo with me before I worked with him.
Yeah.
And he was like, absolutely not.
I respect that.
And I was like, that's probably the right decision, man.
I respect that.
Yeah.
You see, the problem I run into is, I never wear a chicken suit. So
I wouldn't recommend it.
I don't have to worry about that. But I have like a pretty good memory. So if I've met someone before and
you're good with faces?
Yeah, I'm real good with faces and names. And so they're like, it's nice to meet you. And I'm like, actually,
we've met.
Super Bowl 2010, we were in an elevator together in the New York Sheraton. I said hello. You were wearing a blue shirt. And so
you were late for lunch.
Exactly.
You were annoyed.
Yeah.
I see a couple Malcolm Jenkins in the chat. Yeah. I actually I texted Malcolm yesterday. Now, my Rolodex does not guarantee that people get back to me. So I have not heard back from Malcolm, but I am working it. I promise you. I saw Chris Long in there. I actually DM'd him. Haven't heard back, but I'm working the angles. All right. So we are going to do our best to get some of these great Eagles legends. So anybody else you want to see on the show, please let us know. We'd love, and we will do our hardest to bring them to you. We have a super chat here from Aaron Weidman. Let's see if my old man eyes. It says,
he says, I'll read this.
Yeah, you take that.
He rewatched the game.
Okay,
he rewatched the game last night. Moore had 3 good quarters. The bootleg just worked before that. That wasn't a problem in thinking. So Aaron Weidman, who's Kellen Moore's agent leading into the Dallas negotiations.
Well, my question
was, we appreciate your contribution, Aaron.
Was the bootleg prior on a healthy knee?
No,
I don't recall.
No, it was injured. Then knee was injured there.
He threw a couple bootlegs that were like 6-yard gains, something like that. So I don't know what to make of it.
The first play of the game, interestingly, the first play of the game was under center rollout bootleg completion to Dallas Goedert. That was the last time they went under center in the game. The last time they threw out of under center. If you want more intel like that or an analysis like that, make sure you check out Professor Selman on Friday's show.
Yes. I see a shout out for the Trot Man. I can guarantee you that Anthony Gargano will be getting the Trot Man on, as they are good friends. I saw a Todd Harriman shout out. we can absolutely get Todd on. That one is extremely doable. Todd is the man. All right, something to throw by you guys that I think is a no-brainer, because when the Eagles win on Sunday, picture the field. Picture the photo opportunities. Now, Zach, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Eagles, by NFL rules, can wear the Kelly green this weekend.
They are permitted to pull out the alternate jerseys once in the postseason. Yes.
Do it.
You would do it?
The NFC the field is so much cooler. The photo opportunities. This is a mush-free, jinx-free conversation. The boys holding up Kelly green. Because, you know, a lot of the pushback I hear against the Kelly green is, oh, that represents a losing time, a losing organization. You can change all of that by hoisting an NFC championship with those beautiful helmets and the Kelly green jerseys this weekend. Your thoughts?
Since they brought them back last year, they are undefeated.
4-0, right?
In the Kelly green. 4-0. So look, I care about the visual component of this quite a bit. And I need to say, you know, make sure you're a diehard on PHLY.com. The photos, they pop. Oh, yeah. They pop with the Kelly green. So, yeah, look, the photos from this past weekend's game with the snow were awesome.
Amazing.
The photos with Kelly green, those photos would pop.
So you're in support?
You know what? I'll
for the aesthetics alone.
I'll leave the attire up to you. You know, I'm not I'm indifferent to it, but if it matters to you, then by all means do it.
Rich?
I think it would be cool. You're talking about photo ops after the game. I would love to see Trot Sr. and Trot Jr. If not
recreate the picture where Trot Sr. picks them up and holds them in his arms.
I don't know if Trot
can still do that.
It would be a big ass, though. His son is an NFL linebacker. I know, a little bit smaller, but at least them standing next to each other.
Absolutely. Let us know in the chat if you want the Kelly Greens this weekend. Let's go. Let's do it.
So this is something I'm curious about, right? Is they haven't pulled out Kelsey yet, right? Ooh. What I mean by that is, like, Kelsey's been at games, but it hasn't been like
not Dawk coming out of the tunnel.
Yeah, the honorary captain coming out. You know, he's been there cheering them on. They showed on the board when he's with like former teammates. He obviously did the Monday night game earlier this year, but it hasn't been like it was Dawkins coming out of the tunnel last week. I wonder if this is the week they pull out Jason Kelsey.
So what did that do to the stadium? When Dawkins came out, did that take it up a level?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and look, Dawkins coming out of the tunnel, that's like Ray Lewis coming out of the tunnel, right? There's and it was unannounced, and Dawkins coming out really brought them up. So I think I wonder if this is the week they bring out Kelsey.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah. Is there a harder flex than Jason Kelsey being able to drink a garage beer on the sidelines of Lincoln Financial Field? Like, that is the ultimate I can do whatever I want status.
If you say so.
Right? I mean, drinking a beer on the sidelines of Lincoln Financial Field? Give the man the keys to the organization.
I mean, I've seen Kelsey drink a beer once or twice, so it's not like a stirring visual. But
just the fact that somebody has a beer on the sidelines, it's like, it blew my mind. I was like, what's going on here?
We're not giving these guys enough credit. Trey can get into the
into
the stadium very easily. Kelsey can drink a beer pretty easily.
So, Zach, I know you'll appreciate this one. I don't know if I've ever told you this, a little flex on my part. I once was a part of a Ray Lewis Ravens huddle. On the field.
I didn't know where you're going with that one. Okay.
Yeah. No, I got out of it unscathed. But yeah, I was in the huddle. Guess what? He didn't curse.
Really?
Which blew my mind.
He's respectful. Yeah. So you're in the huddle.
Yeah, I was the only non-Raven
awesome.
with the cameraman.
That is awesome.
It was pretty cool.
That's really cool. Were you like at the coin flip of a Super Bowl?
I was at the coin flip for the Cardinals-Steelers Super Bowl in Tampa.
I'm telling you,
and I'm wearing a backward hat conversation, full circle. You can see me in the picture of the coin toss. I'm wearing a Phillies 2008 World Series cap backwards.
Jamie is like the sports version of Forrest Gump. Seriously. He knows everybody. He's got. I joked with him over text. He's up there with John Clark. Like he's got connections everywhere. Jamie knows what's up.
It's been a fun career. Yeah. It has been a fun career. All right, last thing I want to get out of here. Sean Hockley calling the game this weekend. Anybody know the record with the Eagles and Sean Hockley games?
What is it?
It's good, right?
Do you know it?
I don't know it exactly, but it's good.
6-0.
Yeah.
No big deal. So the fix is in. Birds win. And then the last one, a little bit of line movement in this game. The line on Bet365, our presenting sponsor, and use code PHLY365, and you can find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365, has moved from the opening -4.5 up to -6.
So what's your read on that?
That's a good sign.
It's a good sign.
Yeah.
I would agree. I mean, the Eagles are like I've said it all week. This isn't me being a homer reporter. I'm just being honest. I said going into the playoffs, the Eagles should want the Commanders in the first round. I thought the Commanders were a better matchup than Green Bay. I certainly did not expect the Commanders to beat the Lions. I think the Eagles are more talented on both sides of the ball. I usually judge things based on the line of scrimmage. I think where Washington's weak is the O-line and the D-line, especially when you take out Cosme, who's been their best offensive lineman. The only way I see them losing this game is if Jayden Daniels is hot and if Jalen Hurts is injured. But I just think the Eagles are the better football team.
Them missing Cosme feels like a big deal.
It's huge.
But by the way, and I know that Fran talked about this yesterday, the play that Jalen Carter made on
I was blown
3rd and 2
away by Fran's film work on that.
Well, just the idea that he completely won that with his brain.
Yeah.
Like as talented as he is, faking the stunt and getting two guys, getting the center, Bo Limmer, to look to the left, but also Dotson to go away from him and say, like, all right, here's a stunt. I mean, Bo Limmer can handle a Jomo on the loop or whatever. And then, like, half a second later, he's planting.
Now, I might be giving him too much credit
ground.
here, but it was almost like he saved it for the most important part of the game.
Oh, it's so good.
Like, he set him up all game long just to have it in the bag when it mattered most, and he won the game.
It reminds me of when he almost caught the spike. Like, he's just
point.
thinking the
He's
game
a
at a
very
very high
heady
level.
player, yeah.
Yeah, a nugget from Vic Fangio. They actually ran the stunt that he faked in the previous game against the Rams. So they were,
I love
it was
that
kind of
stuff.
in the bag. They were holding it. And I've spoken to a number of people about Jalen Carter, and that's the one thing that people say doesn't get brought up enough is how smart he is as a football player.
So, Zach, I have a question about Jalen Carter, and I feel like you're the man that would have the answer to this. His Twitter handle is the Bread Man. He's got the Bread Man on his forearm tattooed right there. What the hell is the Bread Man?
I will find that out this week for you. I will ask him, and
You
I will
don't
find that
know?
out. I don't know. I will find that out this week.
I'm like,
Yeah.
does it just mean get the paper?
That's my guess.
Yeah.
But I will find that out.
He's going to
for-
get some paper, all right.
Oh,
Yeah.
give that man whatever the hell he wants.
I will find that out this week.
Okay. Because
He also has Breadland. He has Breadman merchandise as well.
We might have to buy some Breadman merchandise to wear at the Super Bowl parade.
Bread
But we
Man
also
gets
have a
paid.
great Baby Rhino shirt here at the All PHLY locker room if you yourself want to get a little Baby Rhino gear. And we have another super chat from our man Real Time with Prince Blue. What up, Prince Blue? He says, is this the Jayden Daniels fan club? No, this is perfect. I said it on the postgame show. The narrative nationally this week is going to be all high and mighty on Jayden Daniels. I think last week was Washington's Super Bowl. No rookie has ever gone to the Super Bowl before. I think this is all setting up perfectly for Jayden Daniels to lose in the NFC Championship game.
I mean, I know
Ride the
we
wave,
get,
Zach. Lean into it.
I know we get ridiculed when we praise other quarterbacks. Real Time with Prince Blue is probably on me for praising Jordan Love. Jayden Daniels is legit. Jayden Daniels is legit. There's nothing wrong with complimenting another player, right? Like, two things can be true. The Eagles are the better team, though. The Eagles should win this game, not because Jayden Daniels is getting too much credit, but because the Eagles are the better football team.
Yeah.
I'm with you, though. I would love the Jayden Daniels hype train.
Oh, yeah.
To just go off the tracks this week.
I
Seriously.
saw NFL Network yesterday. One of the Chyrons said, Eagles don't win this game if it's not for snow. And I was just like, yes, make the Eagles feel like underdogs this week. Get this Washington narrative out of control.
Make the Eagles feel like underdogs as the line continues to creep up. And people in Vegas have inside injury info on them.
I said this a few weeks ago. The Eagles cannot play the nobody believes in us card. Like, the Eagles are heavyweights.
Sure.
They should view themselves that way. They should be viewed that way. The Eagles are not your plucky underdogs. This is not the 2017 team. This is a team that is they're loaded on both sides of the ball. They've lost one game since September. The Eagles are bona fide heavyweights. And by the way, they have the high Super Bowl odds right now. Is that right?
Yes, they are favored ahead of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Because their path is easier to get to the Super Bowl.
I would think that has more to do with it.
Yeah.
But it's also to me as just an NFL fan, the Chiefs are there for the taking. Like, this isn't the same.
Be careful what you say there. Yeah.
I know. And I'm kind of pulling for Buffalo, to be honest with you, because I would love to see a Philly-Buffalo series. Both games are going to be hard no matter how you slice it. It just, Kansas City has hung around all year and pulled it out, and that's a credit to them, much like the Eagles have done the same thing. It just feels like Kansas City's there for the taking this year.
I mean, that's like saying the Chicago Bulls were there for the taking in like 92. And no, you don't want to see Mahomes. You don't want to see Mahomes.
Cousin Grace says, not underdogs, alpha dogs. Hell yeah, Cousin Grace.
That sounds like a good book title.
Yeah. File that one away, Zach. All right, that's going to do it for us here today at the PHLY Eagles Podcast. Let's get a little thumbs up here, a little heart emoji, a little comment on the way out. We love and appreciate everybody that hung out here with us today. A big thank you to Trey Thomas for hanging out with us as well. Now, Zach, let me get this correct. 2 o'clock tomorrow, 8 p.m. tomorrow as well. A little bonus edition.
Yep. Double dip on Wednesday.
And Vinny Curry is going to be joining you guys at 8 p.m. as well as possibly some others.
Yeah, so we'll have some guests tomorrow night. We'll talk to Vinny Curry. We'll have some of Bo's favorite conversation, which is Josh Harris. But then tomorrow in studio.
So let me guess, the whole show, Bo's just going to go.
Probably so.
And you're going to have to do all the talking?
Yeah, probably so. I'll try to keep it somewhat professional. And then and then tomorrow afternoon, we'll have Fran in studio, I believe, and we'll...
A little send-off.
Yeah, we'll kind of break down Washington, give you everything you need to know ahead of that game. Thursday's Bo and me in studio. Then Friday, we have the professor with Bo. I will chime in from NovaCare before practice.
Love it. We're going to hopefully be your one-stop shopping for everything Eagles through the parade, through everything, because the Eagles are winning it. I'm not speaking about the other options here.
How about beyond the parade? We got free agency. We got draft. Every day. Yeah.
They got the 30-second pick to make, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, if you want to become a diehard, which you should, because for what Fran Duffy is about to do this next 2-month period alone, I promise you, is worth $4 a month, not to mention Zach and Les and Bo and Jim Salisbury and Kyle and Derek and Charlie, some of the best writers in the entire city, all for less than $4 a month. Like, come on, that's a bargain. Limited time deal. Hit that QR code. Head to allphly.com. That's it for us today. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you soon here on the PHLY Eagles Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.